The level of professionalism at the Lee County Jail is non existent. And I'll give you an example. When I was being extradited out that last morning, I was put in a cell downstairs while the Denver County sheriffs were on their way to the Lee County Sheriff's Office. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I'm in a cell downstairs by myself. Um, I've said nothing to no one, and when they get here, when the two deputies get here, this old lady, dark or gray curly hair, glasses, wire rim glasses, mean as can be, opens my cell door. You get out here, cross over there, walk over there, just starts screaming at me. That is every single interaction in the Lee County Jail. They're just incredibly abusive and no reason for it whatsoever. None. But that's the way they treat every last person in there. The staff is being led by someone who apparently has told them that these people in here are your victims and you can do and say pretty much anything short of hitting them. Somebody who's not very well. I don't work a 9 to 5 for that reason. And anybody who knows me knows that I have issues where the right side of my body quits working. Sometimes when I'm talking, you can tell that the right side of my face is a little more drooped but there are times when my whole right side stops working. I have had this for years, and anybody who actually knows me knows that I have canes in my home, and I told them when I went into custody and when I went before the nurse and the doctor all of my medical issues. One night, it happened. My whole body on the right side stopped working. It went paralyzed. I slumped. I was slumped over. My face, it looks like I'm having a stroke. It literally looks like I'm having a stroke. My whole face just goes down. My right side stops working. So one of my fellow inmates, Beth, carried me down a flight of stairs. She, superwoman, tiny little thing. And they got the CO, and I was able to mumble. I can barely talk. I can barely communicate when this is happening because I lose my voice too. So the voice goes, and everything is slow, very slow. So this is happening to me, and they put me in a wheelchair and they take me downstairs. Now, my foot will not do what they want it to do. It keeps bending under, and I can't control it, and they're giggling and laughing, thinking it's funny, because they assume that absolutely everybody in jail, if they're sick, has done drugs. That's what they assume. This is why people die in jail. This is why people die in jail. It's not because, they do something it's because they're so callous that they assume that everybody who's sick in jail has done drugs. So they take me down to the nurse's station, and I will never forget what happened next. This woman, she has long hair, and she wears it in a ponytail kind of off to the side. It's a very 1980s hairstyle. She has bluish eyeshadow, big brown glasses. I'll never forget that face for as long as I live. And they roll me in there, and she says, "She's lying. She's lying. She's lying. There's no way. They checked on her earlier today, and she was fine earlier today. There's no way you go from fine to this. It doesn't happen." And then she walks up to me, and she pinches me right here as hard as she can, and she twists as hard as she can. I don't react because I can't. Because I am literally slumped over in a wheelchair like this. I can't function. At which point, She insists that I'm lying and faking it for I don't know what reason, because I've asked for nothing. She starts shoving me right here on the right-hand side, takes me and shoves me to get me to sit up straight. I slump right back down because I can't sit up. She did that 4 times and she slapped me on the arm twice. Then they took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was through the roof. She and another person carried me over to a cot. It did not have a sheet on it. It did not have a blanket, and it did not have a pillow. And she threw me on that cot and left me there, and I didn't move for hours. She finally brought in some medication, took my blood pressure again. My blood pressure, the first time she took it, was 199 over 125. And this woman was hitting me while I was slumped over in a chair. And it was only after she took my blood pressure and realized, something might be actually happening here, that she tried to find out. And I'm like, I don't want drugs. I need a quiet place to lay down and go to sleep. It's the only thing I really need when this happens to me is to sleep, and you can't sleep in the Lee County Jail. The noise is atrocious. The pipes sound like a freight train coming through every 20 to 30 seconds. It's unbelievable. The lights never go out, and I needed a dark, quiet place to sleep. That's what I needed. But that woman pushed me hard, shoved me with both hands. Let's see if I can even do this. Like that. Into this arm as I was slumped over in a wheelchair. 4 times. There were COs standing around her as she did it. No one intervened. While she yelled at me and I was slumped over, and they all thought it was a great big joke. You look at the records of that night, she had to call her doctor and cover her butt. Around 3 a.m., she started being nice to me because she realized I was actually very sick. Nurse Grimes, that woman's name I was told, but I don't know for sure that her name is that, is McKinley, something like that. I don't know that for sure, though, but I could ID her in a second. In a second. I'll never forget her. I'll never forget a nurse abusing me while I couldn't do anything and it didn't matter that I couldn't do anything to defend myself, because if I did do something to defend myself, I would have been tased and charged with something else. That's the truth. So I'm kind of glad I couldn't fight back, because I wouldn't want extra charges. Nurse Grimes is another one. What a horrible, horrible woman who screams at the inmates all the time for no reason whatsoever. Her job is to pass out medication. That's it. That's it. And she acts like she should decide whether or not you get the medication that the doctor prescribed. And the CO and her will often decide together whether or not you're going to get your medication. I can't tell you how many times that woman wouldn't give me the medication that I was prescribed for my stomach. Wouldn't do it, because she just felt like being a witch that day. Lee County Jail is an awful, awful